What's up, everybody? Man, been a long time, man. Huh? Yep, been a long time, man. I know it. Yep. Just want to jump on, man. Let the people know, man. Let the people know I haven't forgot about y'all, man. I just been going through some stuff in life, trying to make it here and there. But man, I've been getting a lot of tea. I just been waiting, trying to give the adversary or the enemy an opportunity to see what's going on, man. There's still a lot of nepotism going on across the state. So um, I want to address that first, kind of, you know what I mean, before I jump around. So I'm gonna jump around because I haven't been on here in so long. Um, yeah, a lot of officers still doing some illegal things, man, in all these different institutions, man, for whatever reason. You know what I mean? If you're not going to do right going through that gate, I think it's best that you stay at home, man, because you're going to end up yourself in prison, like the guy that's chauffeuring that's driving the cart now that used to be a former officer that's at CMCF. He used to be an officer at CMCF, but now he's an inmate at CMCF, and they seem like he has carte blanche to where he can move around and do the different things that he used to do when he was an officer. You know what I mean? So he shouldn't even be at that institution because he was an officer there at that institution and he got jammed up. And so now incarcerated. But long story short, let me jump over with the nepotism. You know, everybody knows the big changes about them moving Huffman, you know, to like a regional. I don't even know regional superintendent that where he's over everything in the South, and then you got Mark McClure who's over everything in in the North, and you got Mr. Hunt. That's what you know. I guess you know it's amazing how you never know how much a person does until his absence has created a void that it takes 3, 4, 5 men. You have to readjust your whole system to do the job that one man was doing. I'm talking about DCI Mallet, man. I know they're going to really miss him, but you had to rechange the whole structure because because he knew policy, he knew security, and he knew his job well. So, man, big ups to him, man, for getting down and I hope that he really shines down there in his new position, in New Orleans, man. So they got a blessing. They got a blessing in disguise, but um, MDOC let him go. Well, he chose to leave because there was no, I guess, cohesiveness amongst the staff. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, long time no here. What's up, Tyra? Everybody. So one thing about it, man, but even with promoting these people to regional, regional, you're still your wife's boss. Nepotism is real, man. I don't know how you think about it. Nepotism, you can't be your family member's supervisor. You can't be in a position to where you can't chastise them or write them up for any wrongs they're doing. So I think that in itself is something that needs to be addressed with the nepotism laws in Mississippi. And Mississippi was big on that, but it seems like it's a hands-off thing when it comes to MDOC. So I don't understand how you letting different supervisors work for their spouses work for their husband. You know what I mean? And we're talking about not in chump change jobs. They're making say like down at Parchman. You know, you got a Mad Core pen. Why are you doing MDOC work? Mad Core, for anybody that doesn't know, Mad Core is completely different from MDOC. Is that how he's justifying her working under him because she's in a Mad Core pen? You know what I mean? So I think that, there's some different things that needs to be addressed. Another thing that needs to be addressed are the rash of overdoses that's occurring around the state. You know what I mean? We didn't have a lot of that. We didn't have a lot of that when we had hands-on people going down, making rounds throughout the state and checking on the people. So I think that we need to check into it. There's too many of our loved ones who are dying. I still got loved ones who are still incarcerated within MDOC and the federal system. So I think that we need to pay attention to how many they're not reporting them. They're not reporting to the public, and so I think that that's one of the things that that's one of the things that we need to address, that people are not reporting it to the public. And so I just wanted to address that. And one of the things I want to address is about Warden Johnson. Now, as bad as they say he was, I don't think that he did what he's being accused of with the Hasty sisters. You know what I'm saying? They come from Vicksburg. He was instrumental. He was instrumental in bringing them to MDOC. So I think that him bringing them there, but they didn't want to stay within the guidelines of MDOC policy. They found a way to, write him up allegedly for sexual harassment. I can't see that in Johnson. I know he flirted and I know he did all this, but I can't see him uh, dealing with the Hasty sisters. You know what I mean? He accommodated them with preferential job. I'm not saying because he was white, but because he knew them from Vicksburg and they worked with him at Vicksburg PD. But for them to come down and cross him and make allegations that I don't believe are true, you know what I mean? For one, uh, he was beginning to put pressure on them because, first of all, when he was off, and one of the Hasty sisters, I don't know if it was, I think it was Teresa that was working. How in the world, how you doing, Miss Morris? How in the world you let some offenders go and break into the office to steal the contraband out of his office? That's the first thing. And then not only that, I blame him for not taking the time before he left to take the contraband down to CID like it should have been logged in at CID instead of leaving it in his office until Monday. You know what I mean? And so the Haitian sisters found a way to let those guys go in and break into his office, not once but twice over the whole weekend. First of all, she should have been reprimanded because she was in a position to make the necessary count when the guy escaped. Nothing was done. But a snake is always a snake. You knew there was a snake, Johnson, when you took him in. And then not only that, even though they went and they walked him off, why they didn't punish her when she had all the alcohol in her trunk? You know what I mean? It's against the law for you to bring alcohol on state grounds. Whatever your excuse, whatever it was, you can't bring wine, coolers, and alcohol onto an institution and then say, "Oh, I forgot I had it in my car," when you had it clearly packed to take it inside with your lunch. You know what I mean? So that's totally different. So you can't, however you excuse that, however you want to write that up or whatever, wrong is wrong and wrong is wrong. It's simple as that. Ain't no sugarcoating or anything like that. You know what I mean? But that's just one of the things, man. I hate it for Johnson. You know what I mean? When he survived the Rodriguez thing, man, I told you. You know what I mean? I told you, man. You got to keep your words to yourself. So they're going to use the things that you've been accused of to write you up and say the same thing is or was happening to them, man. So but he'll be all right. He's a good fella, man. And hey, what's up, Avis? How you doing? He's a pretty good fella. So he'll survive, and that's the one thing. Another thing I want to address is how. Like, what's up, Carlos? How you doing, brother? Waiting on that documentary, man. Be glad to see it real soon. Um, this parole thing, man. We got to get on top of this, man. I need some help with people, so we need to figure out a way to make the parole board, come in and start giving these guys parole because they're still saying that the nature of the crime is never going to change for whatever a guy does. It should be his conduct while he's been incarcerated. If his conduct while he's been incarcerated is up to par and he's doing his best to stay out of trouble, you know what I mean? Yeah, that's good, man. So yeah, keep on, Avens. Hey, how you doing, Pastor? Miss George, everything all right? And so that's the one thing, man. Then the core civic, well, that's core civic being investigated in Mississippi too, but that's a whole nother monster. At least they only have one here in Mississippi now. They closed the other one. You know, they're only supposed to have one in every state, Carlos. So the one here in Tallahassee is still open, but that's the only one that I know of that's open in the state of Mississippi that's run by Core Civic. You know, so but the Core Civic in Tennessee has five. So that's an issue for a whole other day. Tennessee has five. You know what I mean? But we have a real big one here in Tallahassee County. So that's the thing that about Core Civic here in Mississippi. You know what I mean? And you know, a lot of times when they have different rides and everything that are happening in Mississippi, they take them down to Core Civic to fill it up. You know, they have a lot of people from out of state. You know, Core Civic brings people from all around the country and put them in one thing. But that's a horse of another color and a topic for a different day. So right now, man, I just want to address, man, how can you get new vehicles all over the state? These new Nissan Armadas and all your staffs are riding around in, except your black staff at MDOC. Why Deputy Superintendent, excuse me, Deputy Superintendent Wren doesn't have a new vehicle like these new people riding around in these. You saying you don't have money to do this, you don't have money to do this, but you just purchased five brand new vehicles. You just purchased five brand new vehicles when your food truck at MDOC has an ambulance door on it. You're piecing different parts in it, and it's bent up and dirty. It's rusty in the back. How can you haul food to the different camps? 29, 30, 26. How can you haul food to the different camps in a regular van? You had the guys riding around with no air conditioning in the truck, hauling food in the back. Same way that you haul them across the state in the vans with no air conditioning, but you just purchased five brand new Nissan Armada when you don't have a decent food truck to haul the food. You don't even have a decent ambulance there at MDOC. If you had had a decent ambulance, then maybe Miss Addison would still be here because the ambulance broke down on the way en route taking her to the hospital. Yet and still, why you didn't take that money and purchase a brand new ambulance? Man, they got up. You know what I mean? Enough is enough. You're exactly right. So if you had a decent vehicle that when she was having a heart attack at the gate, you know what I mean? Then maybe she would still be here. No, it's not closed. They're not going to close it. They're not going to close 29. You know, despite the misconception, 29A, C, F, G, H, J, and L are still open. You know what I mean? And full. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, so knowledge is everything, man. That's right, Shug. How you doing, brother? Pastor Shug. I got two pastors on here. Yep, I got Miss Jordan, I got Pastor Carruthers. And y'all just pray for me, man. Pray for those guys who are still. I'm glad that the weather hasn't been as hot as it was because they still don't have air conditioning. Unit 31 was without air conditioning at least 6 weeks, and that's your geriatric camp. But you got guys down there that's living at the new unit, what is it, 33 or whatever the unit they made that are counting themselves. You know what I'm saying? If you can't, with the rash of attempted escapes, you know what I mean? Like the guy had got all the way from on the big yard all the way out to the parking lot a couple weeks ago. You know what I mean? I'm talking about all the way out the fence into the big yard to the parking lot by 7:20. And I'm gonna address 7:20 on another day, man, because I got a bone to pick with you, Ms. Harrison. And I think that first of all, whoever writes me and give me information, you can't exact your power or come in and put them in the shoe or do anything because it's their right. You know what I mean? Oh man, y'all been praying for you. You know what I mean? And so I need to see you too, Mike. You know what I mean? God is good. And so you can't, just like you got Jennifer Weatherspoon still over there. Now I know the commissioner asked you to give her a psych evaluation to see if she was ready, man. The girl hasn't had it. She's been doing good. So put her back on the compound population, man. Mental isolation, it's not good for the soul. It's not good for the heart. It's not good for the mental trauma that people go through while they're incarcerated. There's no air conditioning down there. you're on 23-1 at least 4 days a week. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's a lot that needs to be done, man. It's a lot of things that need to be done, within the situation, man. So we need to even, I don't care, we got to get picket signs and go stand in front of each institution and pick a day of the week or whatever, get the news media down there so they can change some of the conditions at the way that people are living. You know what I mean? Then if next time the parole board meets, we need to try to have a sit down to where we can get enough concerned citizens and people who have loved ones that are incarcerated. They need to get in. They need to come down so we can address this situation of they're not letting guys make parole. You know what I mean? What's up, soldier? How you doing, man? Man, just on here chopping it up. Then another thing is there are a lot of guys. We've been trying to have a voter registration drive within the prison for the guys that don't have the charges uh, that prohibits them from voting. They still can vote absentee ballot. So every vote is going to be it needs to be counted during this upcoming election. When we get the guys who don't have the charges that prohibits them from voting, and some of the ones like forgery and cutting timber and all this that bans citizens of Mississippi for the rest of their lives from ever voting. You know what I mean? Some of those need to be off the book. But the Supreme Court just said it's not up to them, it's up to the legislature. Said they can't change it and go back and give guys their right to vote back. They're saying that the Mississippi legislature got to write the law and change it in order to give guys their right to vote back. That's a big thing here in Mississippi because we have more charges than any other state that prohibits ex-offenders from voting. You know what I mean? And so I don't think people get that, because they can give you a charge that they can adjudicate, but you're still a convicted felon. You know what I'm saying? It's still on your if you had a forgery, uttering forgery charge, for instance, in the state of Mississippi, they can take that charge and adjudicate it. But that still prohibits you from being able to vote. Matter of fact, they got a woman. I'm gonna find the article where they are trying to give her 5 years for going and vote after she had a charge that was adjudicated. She never served time for, but it was a felony that was adjudicated. They said no, she's still a convicted felon, so she violated the laws of the state so they're trying to reinstitute her probation and then send her back to prison for 5 years. They're trying to sentence her to 5 years. I'm gonna find the article. I'm gonna make sure I post it on my page. You know what I'm saying? Um, Another thing is, man, we hadn't forgot about the thing that happened to our good friend that down at Miss Glenda. You know what I mean? Why hasn't anything been done, man? This woman has been traumatized. She's still going to the doctor, man. I've been praying for her. You know what I mean? I'm not saying whatever you got to do to make things right. I don't think that she should have to be on the same compound or grounds as another officer with a ranking position. Even though, you know, from what I hear, even from the inmates, that this woman does her job, but she treats staff horribly. I'm talking about you, Dodie. You know what I mean? So um, you need to ask for a transfer and go to Delta or somewhere so Ms. Glenda can come back and get her job. If the superintendent don't have enough nuts, you know what I mean, to move you after he witnessed you slamming another coworker, you know what I mean? And as good as her and her husband has been to MDOC, I don't I don't I don't understand why she's still there. You know what I'm saying? Why she's still there when Miss Linda has been good for cold storage and everything, and Pancho has been good, man, for vocational. Man, he really trained those guys, and he's still been really, really working. So Mr. Commissioner, if you believe that Pancho is doing the job that you're so appreciative of, then I think that you know you ought to honor him so that his wife can come back to work, without her time. People have been good. Other officers have been donating time because she's a good spirited woman. You know what I mean? And she's always helping offenders and ensure that that they're working. And so I just think that in order for you to make everything right. You know that that person was wrong for picking her up and body slamming her. Um, the husband and wife team, the superintendent and his wife, witnessed it. You know what I mean? Even if she say her thing is she said she was horse playing. If she was horse playing is still enough to get you fired at MDOC, especially when somebody gets injured. You know what I mean? And we're not going to even talk about the hit and run and leaving the scene. You know what I'm saying? So I think that you need to get down on that situation and take care of that situation. You know what I mean? And get our reentry for our guys that are supposed to be coming home back in line and back in order. Man, you can't sit on the perch and not fly down and check on your people. You know what I mean? Why is the place, just like every time you get ready to go to Parchment, they closing the place. They close the place because you're coming. Parchment is in the middle of nowhere. Your case managers don't have enough time to leave and go to Drew or Ruleville or Tallahassee to try to get food. So you need to tell them that even when you're coming, man, leave the place open so that these people can get some food, man. They can't eat out of the kitchen. You know what I mean? So leave the place open so your staff can get some food. Stop closing the place every time you come down there or somebody who is uh supposed to be important. It's coming down too partial. You know what I mean? They want to close it. No, they can't get nothing to eat. You got to go and get something to eat from Drew or Ruleville or Cleveland. And by that time, then you're going to want to write them up for being late for going and get them something to eat. You know what I mean? They're not DoorDash to partial, man. Ain't nobody calling DoorDash. Or then at the last minute, you find out at the last minute that the place is closed. So if I'm a staff and I say, okay, well, I'm going to go to the place and get me a salad, and just so I can get me some lunch. Then if, you find out that the commissioner is coming on ground, the place is closed because it's not supposed to be open. No, it's supposed to be open, but it's not supposed to be still serving food to offenders. Why? Because monies have been coming up missing all across the state. You got rid of the warden down at SMCI because he was stealing money, from the place. You got the monies that was at Walnut Grove from the guys doing their hobby craft. So you closed all the clubs and you quit serving food. You know what I mean? You can still serve food. You still let the visitors buy their food and eat while they're at the visitation. You know what I mean? And why are you having? Why is it that you're treating your? Why are you treating your special detail people different when it comes to visitation? You know what I mean? Up at Parchment, man, green and white, black and white, green and white, black and white, or whatever. Who's ever at visitation? You can't treat them different because they work for you, man. They got to go through the same rules and regulations and the searches and everything that other people have to go through when they're coming into Parchment to visit their people. You understand what I'm saying? So you can't make different just because they're your guys that you say work for you or whatever. However you want to treat them, your special detail people. They don't get special privileges for visitation, man. And stop closing the place. Stop closing the place every time the commissioner comes down there. He know the place is open. What's up, cuz? How you doing? It was good seeing you, man. And so there are a lot of things that needs to be addressed, man, in Marshall County. Oh, and Mr. New Superintendent Owen, man, listen. Everybody know that you don't like black people. You know what I mean? But as a supervisor, your workforce is at least 65 to 70% black. You can't walk around like you're some high and mighty or high on the hog type person and not speak to your staff. But when you see white inmates, you just an old jolly good fellow. You know what I mean? These are the people that run your institution, man. Yeah, stop treating them. Stop treating them like they're convicted felons or they're inmates or something. Man, speak to your staff. You know what I mean? Until you speak to your staff, you know what I mean? You're going to continue to have the problems that you're having, like all the different gang fights at the U. And how are you letting them reward the people these youngsters, man, that are in there for 25 or 30 years, and you can't give them a life sentence because of uh, Alabama versus the U.S. You can't give them Miller versus Alabama. I'm sorry, because they're juveniles. You can't give them a life sentence, but they got 30 years, and so you're letting them start off already. You're telling them it's okay for them to participate in gang activity when they fight. Man, you let them serve them pizza. You know what I'm saying? You get them a party. So they be cool a couple of weeks, and next thing you know, you got all available staff over to the U. You know what I'm saying? At the state of Mississippi. Here's the thing. Here's the thing too, Miss Evelyn. I was formerly incarcerated. You know what I mean? And so I was given the opportunity to interview for a job, and I got the job as a reentry coordinator and chaplain at MDOC. So the thing is, I can't say anything about that because I don't have a problem with that because I believe that Chaplain Watts, is doing an outstanding job. I believe that um, Mr. King is doing an outstanding job. I think Ron Olivier did an outstanding job as chaplain because we brought different programs and changed the dynamic and the way people was thinking. Before I came to MDOC, Miss Evelyn, Death Row had never came out before and acted sociably or came out together at one time. They was all brought out in shackles. The first thing I did in 2021, I did a book club on Death Row. I did the book A Knock at Midnight. So when I first pitched it to the guy and I went around, I wrote the proposal. They was against it, and I finally got them to approve it. When we first started off, we started off with four CID, four K9 personnel because they were scared of what they were going to do. I said, they're men. Sometimes those men may get immediate release, and then you've been having them on 23 and 1 for 25 and 30 years, so they don't have any social skills. So my thing was to get them to interact socially. It's not up to MDOC to punish them. The court has already sentenced them. Their punishment is the death sentence, is the death penalty. But some of those guys, I believe, this is just me, being formerly incarcerated, interacting with those dudes. There's some of those guys who are innocent, like Sherwood Brown, who are innocent like Curtis Flowers. You know what I mean? And they might get out at any time. So me being an ex-offender didn't prohibit me from going in and doing my job and writing reentry programs to where guys were able to benefit from those. Because I exposed them, I brought a trauma class, I brought a trauma group from me, Clifton, me. Yeah, I'm one of the ones. I'm a former chaplain. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah, me. It's Maurice Clifton. You can look it up. You can look up my story. I served 23 years in federal prison. I went to 4 different institutions in federal prison to develop reentry programs. You know what I mean? And so when I went in, I understood what it took for me to change while I was inside. And so with me doing that, I was able to come in and implement programs. I did a movie screening of the first step for the guys in the seminary to show them the different laws and how to legislate, how they need to get in the law library and fight their cases. Nobody's going to help them if they don't help themselves. I brought bands in, bands that go to different prisons all over the state. I brought prison fellowship in. We did concerts. We did concerts on the yard. You know what I mean? And what it did, it eased the I wanted to work at Unit 29. When I came here, 29 was in a full-blown riot and people were getting killed. You know what I mean? In 2019 and 2020. So I started August 2020. I asked them to put me at Unit 29 because I wanted to work with the guys in H building who was on long-term segregation, the people who were in PC and G building, the people in L building. You know how many suicides I may have prevented just by going down at 2 in the morning and talking to a guy? So I made myself readily accessible to be able to go down. So I'm formerly incarcerated. So when you say even though I'm not from Louisiana, I was the only one from Mississippi. Those guys came with the intent. I think Chaplain Jones, was doing an outstanding job creating programs because that's what he did while he was inside. You know what I mean? It's a guy out here right now. His name Jameson Charles. He used to write plays while he was inside. And if you look him up, his name Jameson Charles. If you look him up on Facebook, he now Texas had got behind him, and people still go and see. He do plays. He's going to be doing plays all over Texas. I'm talking about like Tyler Perry style plays that he wrote, and he put them into action. You know what I mean? So because I'm formerly incarcerated doesn't mean that I'm not capable of going in and performing my job. And you feel free to please inbox me and we can talk about it. And I'll send you my number and we can talk about it. And since I've been out, I fight for these guys because I know I know I fought for guys who were in federal prison when staff used to abuse their power. So I don't have a problem, uh, so to speak, dancing with the devil when it comes to guys who are incarcerated. That's why I'm passionate about it. You know what I mean? Because I've been through it. I stayed in the SHU 19 months. If you don't know what the SHU is, it's a special housing unit where you're on 23 and 1 and they pass you your food through a tray. So I did that for 19 months. I got my food through a slot about this big enough for a tray. Every time I had to come out, I had to go on an 11-day hunger strike just for them to give me a visit. So I went 18 months without a visit, 18 months without getting any mail. You know what I mean? They would hold my mail for 30 days because they had to scan it and make copies of it. So I was under investigation with no write-up. I did 23 years with one write-up. 23 years with one write-up. I got a write-up in 1997, July 1997 for a three-way phone call. So I did the rest of my time developing programs and curriculums to try to change the mental thinking of guys. So those guys that you talk about that come in from Louisiana, some of them, one or two, I don't understand the method to the madness, but as far as Chaplain Sidney DeLoach, Chaplain Ron Olivier, Chaplain George King, Reentry Coordinator George King, State Director George King, Jones, Michael Palmer, and the different guys, Look King, the different people, man, them people come in every day and bust their butts to implement programs, So when you say the guys from Louisiana, you know, it hurts when you hear staff because we're subjected to, I could lose my life just like they could, you know, the other staff that come in lose their life. The money, man, when I looked at what George King was making before he left to come here to the state of Mississippi, I told him, man, ain't no way in the world I left a $60,000 job to come down here to a $27,000 job just to change the culture of the prison. You know what I mean? But he did, and he's developed more programs than anybody prior to him. You know what I mean? A conflict of interest. Superintendent Denmark couldn't be employed. Okay, now, okay, so it's in the state personnel handbook. It's a complex. I don't know who Superintendent Denmark is right now. I know Huffman is down there, so somebody down there now. Huffman this is back in the day. Inbox me your number. Go on my Facebook page, inbox me your number, and we can talk about it. You know what I mean? Because one thing I did when I was there, I read and I studied policy. You know what I mean? And so I don't think, you know what I mean? Uh, I don't think one or two of the guys that came had good intentions, but see, people think I went there because I wanted to change. I wanted to change the culture of MDOC. I didn't know we had it that bad. I'm from Mississippi. I live 6 miles from Parchman in the Mississippi Delta, a little town called Mile Bayou. Out the back gate, 6 miles you could be in my hometown. So I didn't know we had it that bad. I did 23 years in federal prison. I didn't know our state prison had it as bad as they did until I went there. I didn't know that guys were suffering from the brown water. In my hometown, they had brown water for years until they got it fixed. You know, the water, the no air conditioning. Even when they were going, they had the turnkeys, the guys on the horse, the trustees and stuff that used to go in and whoop dudes back in the day. You know what I mean? some of them guys came to the Fed. So I didn't know the problem that we had until I came. I seen some of the guys coming to the Fed who used to be housed, had license in Mississippi, but they used to be on the trustee squad, and they used to carry the guns. They couldn't put them in the state because the state they were going to kill those guys because they whooped a lot of dudes in the state. You know what I mean? At the direction of the people, of the officers who was there. And so a lot of times me and Mr. Kane don't see eye to eye, but I understand uh, him wanting to change the moral character of a man in order to decrease the violence. However, me being in the federal system, I understood that, I'm a Christian and I'm a pastor. And so listen to me good when I say this, because me growing up in Mississippi taught me a lot about Christianity. You know, it was good Christian white folks that was lynching us back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Now, I love Jesus for my own personal reason, and it's nobody's business. We can talk about it one on one, but it's nobody's business. I love Jesus for my own personal reason. But while I was in the federal system, I went to the Muslim service because most of the black guys there, I wanted to educate them on stop seeing me as different just because I'm a Christian. How I get on my knees and pray is my own personal business. And so a lot of people get that twisted and thinking that because a lot of guys come in and they have a come to Muhammad moment or a come to Jesus moment or a come to whatever religion they choose to ascribe to, come to Noble Drew Ali moment. But in the end, if all of us, a Christian, a Muslim, a Moorish science, or a Hebrew Israelite riding in the car on the back road in Bolivar County, Mississippi, or Sunflower, Mississippi, and we get stopped by the local police there at 2 in the morning, they ain't gonna give a damn who we worship. You know what I mean? As long as that rope can fit around our neck, you know what? So I understood that. So I had to make guys from California, New York, and the different places, St. Louis, and the different religions that they ascribe to, the 5% and everything, understand that when racial issue, when it's black and white, nobody knows whether George Floyd was a Christian, a Muslim, Hebrew Israelite, 5%er, or more. Nobody knows that. Only thing they know is a man put his knee on his neck until he called for his mama until he died. You know what I mean? And so people get it twisted. People get it twisted, thinking that that's the biggest way they divided us in the Fed. They divided us by what we had different cars. In the Feds they got cars. In the state of Mississippi they got gangs. Everybody from Texas, rode together. Everybody from St. Louis, from Missouri, everybody from Mississippi rode together. Everybody from Louisiana, some New Orleans or a different part. You understand? And so that was their way to divide us. So once I can divide you physically, I can control you mentally. Man, the inmates had the power. You talking about one man? Colin Powell said one of the most powerful things when the war in Afghanistan started, and they asked him, "Do you think you could ever take any prisoners from prisons since there are not a lot of soldiers, not a lot of people not in?" He said, "No." He said, "Why would I use men out of prison when you have a 110-pound woman that watches over at least 150 of them every day, and none of them try to escape?" He said, "So when the enemy catch them in Afghanistan, what are they going to do? They're going to sit down and wait on them to bring them the food. They're going to sit down and wait on them, you know what I mean, to cater to give them their privileges. So why would I use somebody out of prison that less than 110 pounds?" And I'm not advocating violence against the staff or anything like that. You know what I mean? But, that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest misconception. And people, the same thing that's on the street, man, is in prison. The same drug that we have on the street, crystal meth, it's in prison. You know what I mean? The same marijuana we have on the street, it's in prison. The same fifths of alcohol and pints of alcohol or whatever, the same thing in prison, man. The same thing in prison. I don't know, people have been watching Shawshank Redemption and everything so much, man, that they got it twisted. You think So I watch uh, guys hang themselves. You know what I mean? I watch guys kill each other in prison. I watch guys try to rape a female staff member that another inmate beat and set a fire in his cell to get the attention for them to come over to save that woman. And when he did, they wrote him up for setting the fire, not because he got the attention, got them over there to save the woman, but because he set the fire to some sheets in his cell and was flashing in the window so the staff could run over there and save the woman's life. This is 29L building. Uh, I went in every day and did my job, man, to the best of my ability. Formerly incarcerated, yes. Educated, yes. You know what I mean? So I put my heart and soul. I went to work every day, put my heart and soul, to change the mind and the mental capacity of men. You know how many families I call and talk to them to tell them that their loved one had died in prison? You know what I mean? And when the staff who wasn't, who didn't have, who wasn't a convicted felon, said he'll call them tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? And I used to watch them leave. They said he'll call them tomorrow because he didn't have a heart. He didn't have time. That wasn't important to him. So me being formerly incarcerated, it was important to me that the family knew before they saw it on the TV, before they saw it, before another inmate got the person's phone book and called home and told them, and they got to call back up. You understand? So don't blame the guys for being formerly incarcerated. If they don't do their job, blame them, hold them to a standard. I think that we should be held to a higher standard. You know what I mean? Because of our past. But man, I feel like I proved myself when I changed the culture. The guys on death row come out right now. They're putting on plays and everything. People may not like it, but they're human too. It wasn't my job to punish them because the courts had already sentenced them. So that wasn't my job to punish them. And I did my time. I did 23 years. You know, man, I lost a wife while I was incarcerated. I lost a son while I was incarcerated. I lost my mom while I was incarcerated. I lost brothers incarcerated. Man, but I counseled staff members too. You know what I mean? While I was there, I made sure that guys got to the hospital when they needed to. As a chaplain, I made sure guys got their good time or whatever. You know what I mean? I did the extra thing. I went the extra mile to make sure that guys who were incarcerated got the stuff that they needed and have. And so I brought different programs from all over the country into MDOC. Brittany Barnett, did the book fair. Fritzy from Horseman from the California Prison Project. You know what I mean? And so there is the thing is, man, I came on a mission and I'm still fighting this mission. So feel free to reach out to me anytime you want to talk about that because I can show you. So you rather have Epps wasn't a convicted felon and he worked there. Look how much money he stole from the state. You got officers right now who are from convicted felons. Whitaker, right now, just got locked up a couple of days ago. And then look how many officers that have done wrong, white officers that they let go, gave them a pat on the back and said, come back another year and apply. Black officers who've been accused of something that they fire or anything like that. So when we talk about being convicted felon, those people who getting caught taking drugs, then they're not convicted felon. Name me one staff that got hired. There was an ex-felon that has broken the law and got fired for bringing in contraband into prison or doing something wrong. Name me one. What's up, soldier? What's up, Jared? You all right? You know what I mean? So them high ex-felons is not the problem. You know what I mean? Them high ex-felons is not the problem. It's the heart of the person that they hire. Man, you got some. So you telling me, Miss Evelyn, that it's okay for Brock Owen not to speak to his black staff that he walks by every day, that they come up faithfully, trying to find a babysitter for their kids and everything. You don't have the common decency to say hey to me. You tell me Brad Huffman can go in every day and look down on blacks there and not promote them like Miss Miller. She's qualified to be a warden down there. You know what I mean? or a deputy superintendent down there at SMCI. But they look over her like she's invisible because she's black. The same way that they took the woman and pulled her over and searched her, had a female officer take her in the bathroom and strip search her. When you got a body scanner right there, they could have put on the scanner and scanned her for anything that's anything. It got a thermal imaging thing. But because she was black, you know, and you tell the superintendent that either she got to go or I got to go right there at SMCI, the white CID officer. I'm going to get his name in a minute. I can't think of his name right now, but I got it wrote down. You know what I mean? So we got to stop this inherent racism and then looking down on me because I'm a felon. Man, everybody that's incarcerated, man and woman, is somebody's daughter, somebody's son, somebody's brother, somebody's sister, somebody's father, somebody's mother. You know what I mean? These are people, whatever crime they commit, man, as a chaplain, I never judged them for the crime they commit. Unless I had to have a personal counseling with them and sit down with them one-on-one, that was the only time I looked at their charge because I wanted to know who I was sitting in front of. You know what I mean? And so the people that did harm to me was the people who weren't convicted felons and was backstabbing me the whole time I was down there. So it wasn't a former inmate that was in. So you telling me as a former inmate, see, that's the whole thing, man. You don't want us to have a right to vote, you know, because we're a convicted felon. You don't think we should have certain jobs because we're a convicted felon. Man, I paid my dues and I paid my time. You know what I mean? Man, I've lost enough during my incarceration. I lost more in the 23 years of my incarceration than some people lose in a lifetime. You know what I mean? But yet and still, I got up every day with a heart for people to serve people. You know what I mean? You know, and so these are the same people who are incarcerated that one day is going to come back and live next door to you. So why shouldn't we want them to have the right job training or the right or the right state of mind when they come home? We can't treat them like animals and expect them to come home and act like saints. We can't feed them dog food and come home and think that they're not going to be hungry. You know what I mean? So you treat them like men and women. You treat them like decent men and women, and they're going to come home and be decent men and women. You know what I mean? So we got to stop this backwards thinking, man. Yeah, I got to go, man, because I'm getting fired up, man. But Miss Evelyn, man, inbox me. Man, I love you guys, man. We got to stop the racism, man. And we got to stop this nepotism that's going on at MDOC. Open that place up, get them folks the truck down there so they can haul that food down. And stop feeding it. Stop treating these men like animals. Like you got Ernest Jackson, you asked him to talk to the men about gang violence, but you done shipped him down to Walnut Grove and lied on him, and you got him down there away from his family. You know what I mean? If you seen the disrespect and how they treat some of the men and women, man, you would be fighting for them too. You know what I mean? If you seen some of the food that they serve, go on the Hope Dealers page and look at their page. Go on some of these pages and look at the food that they post. Or come talk to me and I can show you some of the pictures that guys send me of the food and stuff that they try to feed them. Man, they don't even let the dog stay out in the heat. Even the dog got air conditioning. You know what I mean? And if you go back and look at some of our posts, you'll see they gave the dog employee of the month. So it wasn't a black man or woman that came that was worthy enough to be given employee of the month, that you gave it to a dog. You know what I'm saying? No, this ain't no myth. That's the article is on their page. They took it off their page, but I still got the picture, the certificate with the dog Castro name on it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Come on, man. But you talk about how they treat our inmates, our offenders, my brothers and sisters who are still incarcerated. Yeah, some of them need to be locked up. Some of them should never come home. But there are a lot of them that are innocent because you got crooked policemen in these local police department that framed a lot of guys that are still in prison. You know what I mean? I guarantee you 40% of the people who are incarcerated, black and white and Hispanic, didn't do anything to get there. You know what I mean? Yeah. But take care, man. Man, I love you guys, man. What's up? What's up, baby? You all right? Yeah. Man, reach out to me. Inbox me, sleep. All right? Yeah. Y'all take care, man.